Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? Hope you're doing very, very well. Now, as often happens, I have an idea for doing a video, and I really thought, one of my all-time favourite movies, action, extravaganza aplenty, a pure pantomime, and very laughable in many, many respects, but great good fun regardless. Commando! Arnold Schwarzenegger as Colonel John Matrix. Only after one thing, to rescue his daughter, Chenny. Now, I thought, I'll cover that. And I thought, no, I must have covered that. In the years I've been doing this, I must have covered it at some point. I know I've made reference to it many, many times. So I did a little troll through of my own videos. I don't do that normally. God, there's some weird things which confront me there. I reviewed that. I did a video on this. What was I thinking? What was I drinking? And yeah, of course, I had done a video on Commando, reviewing not only the movie and its oh so quotable lines and ridiculous action, but also the fabulous score you're hearing now from James Horner, the jazz, urban, fusion, funk that is Commando. And so I thought, shit, I wanted to talk about Commando. Oh, bugger. Well, what do we do now then? Is there some element I have not yet discussed about it? Well, yeah, there kind of is, because I got to thinking, what aspect can I discuss a little bit? Which people always go, oh, really? I mean, in a film where he leaps, on an air bloody bag thing across, the Galleria in LA from like a big high walk to, an elevator, rips the seats out of cars, pushes cars over and all that, drops dummies off cliffs and stuff. Just, all that kind of stuff. Well, what kind of thing do people go like, really? Really, Arnie? You can do that? And I thought, yes, you can. And it is the sequence where his daughter's kidnapped. And Alyssa Milano, Chenny. Oh dear God Almighty. That opening, you're hearing it now. Here's the little lovely bridge that James Horner puts in there. Despite the pulverizing steel drums and snare drums and synth pads and all that. This was the 80s, remember? A lot of synth. And that pounding music where he's carrying a tree, across the landscape. And then with his axe, and he catches hair reflection in the shining axe head. Turns around and it's Chenny. And they go off and meet Bambi and have ice cream and all that kind of stuff. And he teaches her martial arts. Watch Arnie doing those moves. Oh dear. And what the hell is that movie puts in there? What is it? It's nothing, folks. It's nothing. It's just pure cinematic bollocarama. But it's great. So the bad guys come to take Chenny away from him, to force him to do a job. Some people are forcing me to do a job to get my Chenny back. His accent's so riotously thick and lacquered on. It's unbelievable in this movie. There's so many lines where you've got to what the hell is he saying? You've got to get the sort of script to, screenplay, dialogue, transcript to work out what he's meant to be saying. Don't just use subtitles. They don't always get that right. In fact, they very rarely get that right, especially when Arnie's concerned. But it is so quotable despite all that, So the bad guys come to get his daughter. They've killed off the rest of his team, and James Olsen as General Franklin Kirby has arrived with a couple of bodyguards, Jackson and Harris, special forces guys. In the meantime, these guys will stay with you. I'm going into the city to coordinate with the federal people. What? Are they any good? Real good. Not as good as you were. Right, okay. And no sooner as General Franklin Kirby lifted off his helicopter, leaving two security guards. I'll say that again. 2 security guards. Then Arnie just picks up his daughter and then just goes, runs as snipers strike up from the air, The foliage around his luxurious Californian mountains hideaway, this fantastic log cabin, huge. It is gorgeous. It is gorgeous. Like, get to your room, and like one of the guards, he's gone down. I think he's Jackson, and Harris has been wounded too, and managed to crawl inside, and like. But the line is, Arnie says to this guy, like, keep an eye out. They'll be coming. Remember, you're downwind. The air current will tip them off. And the guy's going, downwind? You think I can smell them coming? And Arnie's like, I did. I've got to get to the shed to get my rifle. Off he goes. Because when he comes back, the guy's, you hear the music now. He opens the door. He's got his big rifle, right? And the guy's got a knife in his throat. He opens the door and like, this body, poor Harris just tumbles out. And Arnie finds that guy in there, like his daughter's been kidnapped and all that. Like, I mean, we'll go on about that scene, but the whole point of me trying to salvage something from talking about Commando that I haven't discussed at length beforehand is that bit about downwind. You think I could smell them coming? I did. You'll go like, garf. You can smell people. You can smell trouble. You can smell danger. Soldiers, special forces, hunters have known this since time began. Smell fear? Yes, you can smell fear. Yes, you can smell all sorts of things. And a guy like him, when he's just been told all his team's been killed, and these two heavily armed, special forces, bodyguards have been assigned to protect him for all of 5 seconds. His adrenaline's going to be up. When the adrenaline kicks in, fight or flight, all your senses are heightened, and they're heightened in particular and peculiar ways. So things that are danger signals are amplified, where there's the normal bland sort of melange of the sights, the sounds, the smells, the tastes that are around you in a normal environment. They're lessened, and the real nasty things, which are threats, they're heightened, so you tune into them. But until you've been trained to tune into these things and to recognize them for what they are, I mean, hunters, people who grew up hunting, and I believe you can hunt and kill so long as you eat what you're hunting and killing, and you're doing it because there's no other way of living, so you're killing something to survive. I was brought up as a hunter with my father, and I turned my back on it at an early age. I just couldn't stand the killing, the senseless killing. I wanted to kill humans. No, but no, I turned my back on all that, and I have discussed this before, so I'm not going to rake over all that sort of stuff again. But your senses are attuned, and hunters do know how to mask their own smell and to smell when danger is approaching them. The change in air currents, the change in... I won't go into the science behind what's in here and the big bulb that's up there. There's a big olfactory boob. This is the olfactory senses. I think I did just say olfactory boob then. Or was I talking about olfactory boobs? Because I've met a few girls who worked on the shop floor. Old factory boobs. Well, they're not there. They're kind of down there somewhere, chipping over them. But and like hunters will learn from a very early age, just by being out there in the woods or whatever environment they're hunting in, how the atmosphere changes when the prey is there, how when something is coming up behind them, and how to recognize that sense, how it changes, and to understand how, to recognize these signals as they hit you. I mean, there's other senses, of course, but if you can't see an enemy or prey, you can't hear an enemy or prey, you can't taste an enemy or prey, this will give it away. And there is a big bulb up here somewhere which processes all these smells, and taste is a huge part of that as well, by the way. Taste and smell are hugely combined. So when these senses, all these signals come in, you have all these receptors which get it and analyze it and fire it off to the brain through this big olfactory bulb, and your brain will interpret it as like, well, Is it food? Is it enemy? Is it a sexy woman? I don't know. Your brain will work that out and give you indications. So let's bring that back to Arnie, because there's a huge military aspect to this. The Americans, and the Brits have done this too. Probably other countries in the world with their military services have done the same sort of thing. A lot of studies into like how smell can be used on the battlefield, how smell can be used in stealth raids, commando missions. It's a definitely known thing. And you've got another aspect as well. We use dogs, sniffer dogs, smell drugs, smell explosives. We now have, well, we developed it quite a while ago actually. I'm not sure, I'm so out of touch with it all now, to be honest, but they had what they called electronic noses, which it sounds daft, doesn't it? It's a little device which mimics and captures, but with electronics and other sensory apparati, I think I was going to try and say then, all these signals and interpret them without a human being or an animal having to go close to perhaps an explosive device, because they still can't work out whether dogs with explosives smell the explosives or the chemicals which are given off by the process of putting these things together, which is quite an important thing really when you think about it. So, you know, but this device it can cut through all that. Now, yeah, this is live, this is explosive, we're going to use this, but right, alarm goes off. Well, it doesn't do that because that might set the friggin' explosive off, but it will alert, you know, the humans to try to deal with it. And there's a lot of battlefield applications for that kind of technology as well. But in the field, and this has been proved in battles from, you know, time immemorial, because people can sense danger ahead. Hang on, something smells off here. What are they smelling? Are they smelling people? The scent on people? The shift in animals and animals in that environment who are now afraid because there's human beings moving through their environment, and the other, you know, one side of the military equation here can smell that shift in like the atmosphere. Animals are now in fear, so they're in flight. You can smell fear. Fear does manifest itself as a chemical scent which you can pick up on. So in battles and pre-battles and pre-ambush, especially in Vietnam, they really put this into practice in Vietnam. They monitored and tested people with what they call like smell sticks. They give them like, you know, and it would obliterate their sense of smell, and they go out into a field where there was danger. I mean, it's a test environment, and they just blundered into it. Don't obliterate them. It's called masking. You can mask smells by using other smells, and the way that works is that, for example, if you're approaching an enemy compound, an enemy OP, an enemy patrol, something of an enemy variety, and you know, you give off smells and odors, despite how much you might try to mask it all, you can use diversionary smells. For example, what would it be? Like fox urine, and certain pesticides are used, and it's a condensed form which you can use as a distractor. Now what that does, as I said before, I think I may have said before, you're smelling everything around you and it's kind of normal, but something that's a danger smell, all of a sudden, you know, your adrenaline kicks in. That's odd. And the minute you sense something odd, like by smelling it, you know, and you can't see it, right, okay, your senses are heightened and adrenaline begins to kick in. So all the other bits and bobs of smells of the environment are subdued to tune into the something that's odd. So what you do to mask it, to distract, is put down a heavier scent somewhere else, so they might smell something there, like, but what it does, it brings up, because it's not your smell, you can move in a different direction, you know, and it's all deception, it's all masking and diversionary tactics. There's a lot of science to it all, and I do not pretend to understand even one iota of it. I know the theory, I know that it does work. And in Vietnam, this was proved that so many times. Guys would be out in the field, patrols, and they'd smell like what would be an arms cache, a food cache, rice. They'd be tipped off by huge caches of rice, which the VC or the NVA were using. And like, if that's there, then the enemy's there. But again, in a jungle, that's a smell which is going to be, hang on, they might not even know what it is, but it's a smell that shouldn't be there. It's a smell that's suddenly not part of the environment, so it tips them off. It's all clever stuff, but when you're trained and tuned into it and switched on, these little trigger points, be it, well, we won't talk about if you spot something which is a bit unusual, that's not what we're talking about. That's obvious as well. You've got other senses too, obviously. And you hear something, then clearly, but we're talking about smell here, the olfactory sense. And it's Arnie, as John Matrix said, you stay downwind and the haircut and tip them off. Downwind? You think I could smell them coming? This guy's special forces, he didn't own this. And like, Arnie goes, I did. But, because he did smell them, but only a split second before. But then again, what would have masked it? The helicopter, aviation fuel, the rotors, the humidity and water vapour and temperature all change the smell of an environment completely and can mask, so troops can move up as they do in this. The attack force to come and take Chenny have moved up under. They can't be heard, they can't be seen. Helicopter rotors are there, there's conversation taking place, there's deception and distraction taking place, and they're using that to move in. Only when a helicopter goes off and he's like, bye, General Franklin Kirby, and then, shit! But I will just say right now, these guys who move in there, how fucking abstract and random are they? Just open up with fully auto. They want to keep Arnie alive. They could have easily killed him in that first fusillade of rounds. But anyway, so Arnie smells them. And it could happen. It genuinely could happen. Now, there's the soldiers, some soldiers are trained in this. Not everyone. It's still a big, huge research program that I certainly knew of it taking place in American Special Forces, to how people could react and smell stuff and be quicker, and how these electronic noses could be used as a device, personally in someone's kit, to tip them off. Because you've got you've had rainfall. If you've ever been in an environment where it's been raining and then you're out manoeuvring, sound and smells are amplified by that. You think the smell would be dampened, it's not. It brings it out. It brings scents and smells out of the ground. So, and what happens is, well, if you have a downpour in soiled terrain, I don't mean shitty terrain, I mean like soiled earth and all that sort of stuff, worms will come up and bears will come down to get them. So a huge thing takes place when rains come down. So this is activated and your ears are activated because it acts as an acoustic, especially in a wooded area. My God, the sound, you can hear sound from what appears to be tens of miles away. You can hear that bouncing through the trees, through the water. And so in that kind of environment, that can be, pretty risky. Where was I going to go with that? Bit about the weather. I don't know. But if you're out in the field anyway, there's certain things that hunters use as well to try and mask their scent when they're moving up on prey. And they use like items of activated carbon, which will just make your scent disappear beneath the other scents. So in other words, you're invisible. Smell-wise, you're invisible. If you're out in the field, you don't use soap to wash yourself, anything perfumed or scented. That's gonna imagine that in the jungle or right now in the Ukraine, on the borders of Ukraine, and you've got the 100,000 Ruskies are just over there, and you've done a bit of a recce over the border, just spying on their movements, their troop movements, and you've been washing with this luxurious new body lotion, and you've had some great new swanky shampoo and stuff like that, expensive Timotei stuff. Like, everyone, you don't even need to be trained, you're going to smell that a mile away. Take him down. He smells great, but take him down anyway. So it genuinely is a facet of stealth and tactics. and clandestine manoeuvres, without a doubt. So in Commando, a film of such heightened stupidity, where a guy who's 6'4" or whatever the hell he is, he's fucking huge. He's got grenades jingling about on him all the time, and he tries to hide behind a tree, or even worse, in the Galleria, you know, that big shopping arcade which you see in Terminator 2. Arnie's been there a few times, that can cause absolute fucking devastation each time. And you've got Ray Dawn Chong, you know, and you've got Dick Warlock as well, Kurt Russell's stuntman of choice and body double, who also played Michael Myers in Halloween 2. He's there as one of the stuntmen in this sequence. When all the shopping mall security guards all converge, Arnie's behind a great big pillar. It's great big pillar, but not great and big enough to mask him. And he just goes, there's the pillar. He sort of leans behind it, but you can still see Arnie there. Like, and it's like, fucking hell, man. You're meant to be. It's the film's called Commando. He doesn't utilise a single Commando skill in that movie, except for I can smell them coming. That's the only one he uses. Everything else, the weaponry, camouflage. Oh dear God. You know, he's not wearing camouflage gear when he goes to Valverde to rescue Chenny and take out all these bastards. Like, he's not wearing camouflage, he's got olive drab on. And we see him put, you know, a rather pathetic, he puts camouflage face paint on because, well, in a war paint fashion, so sort of like some diagonals, looks great. That's not how you use it. You're not going to blend in. If you're using straight lines, it can be seen. The whole point is to mask straight lines and the human form and blend in with the vegetation. And he doesn't do that at all. Plus, we see him, he puts on his combat vest. In fact, we're going to play that music because I love that music. He puts on all his gear and he's gone to the gun shop, like, and everything he's picked is super shiny. He's got stuff from the A-Team. The A-Team used to use like Desert Eagles and 45s and 9mm and Kalashnikovs, AK-47s, but they were all super silver shiny. Because it looked good. Well, I presume the makers thought it looked good. But fucking Mark L. Lester, who directs Commando, he has Arnie with a lot of fucking silverware, big shiny knives and fucking, you know, Desert Eagles and oh god, whatever. But Arnie's got all this gear on. He puts the vest on, like that. All the grenades tied on. Shotguns, like, you know, Desert Eagle, you know. And that big fucking, I forget what the big assault rifle is. And he's got an Uzi and oh god, another stuff as well, shotguns, all sorts of stuff, like here you are. And then you see him put the face paint on. He's got the vest on. When you see him get blown up and he goes into the garden shed, all injured, and he uses all the garden maintenance equipment like circular saw blades and great big saw blade, a lot of saw blades, band saws and all sorts of weird stuff, like, and the pitchfork and all that into the guys that surround it. Like, he's took the vest off and he's got all the fucking camouflage paint underneath. He only put that on after he put the fucking vest on. That's just one element of idiocy in a film which is deliriously delinquent when it comes to continuity and believability. But, you know, it makes up for it in just sheer balls out macho entertainment for which it cannot be beaten. It just cannot be beaten. But that sense of smell thing, that's genuinely a huge part of it. Did I make any notes on this? Just wondering. Sometimes I write notes down. I've always got bits of paper floating around here. No, I didn't. I didn't make any notes on this. So I think I've pretty much said everything that I knew about this. But I was in that kind of mood. I wanted to talk about Commando because it's so fucking cool. Complete lunacy, but incredibly deliriously good loopy fun. Arnie looks amazing, although his flat top's a bit shit. Because when you see him in Predator, he gets the flat top right. It's a proper flat top. And even though it's not completely, buzz cutted up right down to the wood at the back and the sides, it still looks really meaty. And it is kind of uniform length around the back and the sides. In Commando, he's got like quite a severe, thick wodge of hair at the back, and then it's been scissored off across the top. What's that about? I don't know. Anyway, let off some steam, Bennett. Ever since you had me thrown out of unit, I've ready to pay you back. You know what today is, Matrix? Payday. Little dark gun. Vernon Wells wears in Mad Max 2, which I've discussed a lot, and I've really sung the praises of Wes and Vernon Wells. And you see him in Weird Science reprising the mutant biker role of Wes. But he wasn't meant to be playing Bennett, the treacherous snake in the grass Bennett from Arnie's old team, who sets him up. And he looks ridiculous. And he acts ridiculous as well when he's fighting with Arnie, because he wasn't meant to be playing it, so the costume didn't fit him anyway. And he looks really camp, like Freddie Mercury with a grown-out skinhead. It doesn't look good. It's not a good look at all. And especially like when he's battling Arnie at the end. For fuck's sake, I think Arnie could smell Bennett's perfume a mile away at least, But you're getting old, John. No. Have you seen John? He's fucking ripped. He's huge. He's the epitome. He's the man mountain Adonis. Look at you fat fuck. What are you gonna do? And he does that stupid high pitched screaming each time he's hitting. Ow! 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 Fucking hell. Yeah, Bennett, you need to let off a lot more than just steam, mate. Jesus. And get back to your gay boy fucking leather joy boy bar. Christ almighty. In fact, this is going to be him fighting him very shortly. But great score from James Horner. Let's go back onto this where Franklin Kirby arrives, because this is the whole point of this video: is can you smell an enemy? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. A lot of things give it away. You'd think that a bad guy would wear nothing that's going to give the game away. No scents, no perfumes. He will be unwashed, because the unwashed smell, you can wash with water, but so long as there's no soap or detergents involved in all this, just wash with water or what's around you. But there's also, like I said, for like smearing yourself with mud and soil and earth and all that kind of stuff, and leaves, because then you're carrying the scent of the forest or the environment that you're moving through. But Arnie Matrix, it's a fucking stupid name as well, John Matrix. He's born in East Germany. Why is his name John Matrix? And where's Chenny's mother? Where's she? Not even mentioned. Does the mother get a mention at all in Commando? Does she? I don't know. I don't think so. But yeah, so these guys are going to creep up there, and you presume that they're trained, and they've used deception of the helicopter there, and right now's our moment, he's waving goodbye. But just that second, he's smelt them, because as that helicopter lifted off, and you've got the downdraft of it, you're probably going to have a lot of unsettled stuff swirling around. I'm really spinning this out, aren't I? But it's what I do. And Arnie would know that environment, that's his home, that's all well and good. Maybe he smelt, the munitions. They've got weapons there, he smelt them. They've got grenades, perhaps. They could smell the explosives. Whatever, a lot of metal out there, just 20 yards away around the tree line, which wasn't there before. I know the smell of my environment. That's alien, and it's coming from that direction. Smells it, realises, saves the day. But then again, you've got him, like, he grabs Chenny, hits the deck just in time before getting shot, which brings me back to the other stupid point. because they only just miss him because of the flash second he has to realise that they're there because of their stench. Are they going to kill it? They would have killed him as well. They're the most indiscriminate bunch of absolute knob-headed assassins and kidnappers that you could imagine. It just doesn't work. Anyway, folks, I can smell the whiskey. I'm sure you could too, even though you can smell it only because you knew it was there. See? That's like an auto memory reflex that I've given you there. That all comes into effect as well. But yeah, so keep an eye out because they'll be coming. Remember, downwind. Yeah, cut on, we'll tip them off. Downwind. You think I could smell them coming? I did. Yeah, he did. Because he could, and it's true. You can smell the enemy. You can smell fear. You can smell hate. You can smell a threat. You can smell all. There's a big scientific and military belief that smells reflect emotions. So, and I mean, it's not just military. It's kind of a known thing anyway, isn't it? As I've just said, threat, fear. When someone's happy, when someone's in love, odours are given off. It's a chemical reaction to the moods and emotions that you feel, and they manifest themselves in many ways. A great big shit-eating grin. I love you, and please love me back. Long time. So you've got all this sort of thing which manifests itself in a physical way, and scents and smells are all part of that too. Now, if someone's creeping towards you in the undergrowth, their adrenaline is up. They're spiked because they're trying to get to you. Can you not then smell, as they get closer, their adrenaline rush? Maybe. So that's another thing as well to think of. So when you're the one who's doing the creeping up, you've got to do all this extra stuff to try and make sure that person you're creeping up on to slit his throat, or whatever, or to spring out with a big bouquet of flowers. Ta-da! Love you! Surprise! You've got to do a lot more work to try and make sure that they can't smell you coming. So, a whole new facet there, isn't to think of. And that's why you have all these departments and research groups set up in the military and Secret Service to try to work out ways of how the certain things play. We're just focusing on the olfactory sense, the sense of smell, but everything else comes into it. Your peepers and these things, and then you've got like all your high-tech gizmos of surveillance, and it's endless. But all surveillance does on all these devices are just mimicking what we have naturally. We have all this alert, hyper alert surveillance and sensory apparatus within us. But we just tend to forget it. We live in environments of cars and traffic and noise and digital media, and we're bombarded with stuff all the time, and we do tend to forget to use all of this. It compensates. You can smell when someone's making toast, or someone's making coffee or whatever. Someone's walking down the street and they've got fresh donuts. You can smell that. Of course you can. And obviously exhaust fumes and there's a house on fire down there. You can smell that because it's fucking obvious. But when you go out into the wilderness, you go out camping for the weekend, let's just bring it down to normal levels, not out on maneuvers or a mission or whatever. You just go out camping. All of a sudden, these, everything about you is heightened to an incredible degree. And it's overpowering as well sometimes, because you'll know yourselves, if you've gone out camping and you've gone out walking in the hills for a day, my God, do you not sleep that night? You sleep the sleep of the gods. It is the best sleep ever, because your entire body, not only the physical exertion of moving about and climbing up and down and gradients and what have you, the fresh air and all of this, the different textures and sounds and visions and everything that's around you, your body's not used to it. If you live in a city, you're an urbanite, this is not common to you at all. So it will knock you flat, but it is great, but it's sensory overload. So you have to train a matrix you know, his training, you know. His commando skills. Duh, I'm the size of a mountain, but you still can't hit me with any of your bullets. You know. Although Bennett does get him, doesn't he? There. Yeah. You don't just shoot me. You just stick a knife in me and see what's going on in there when you turn it. It's great, isn't it? It's so fucking stupid. But yeah, so folks, there you go. There's a little, I don't know, anarchic aside to Commando. As daft and as risible as much of it really is. And when you go back to it now, if you, like me, you grew up as a teenager watching it, or you were a kid when you first watched it, it was the best thing you'd ever seen. Wow, he's just killing everybody. He's awesome. I want to be him. But then you watch it with a more mature outlook on things and a bit more knowledge about how things happen, and even in movies, and you go like, oh Jesus. But this is just like a sitcom, which it is, a sitcom with a body count. That's all it is. But it's great. It is great. I am not knocking it at all. Trust me, I adore this movie. But I think your reasons why you adore it kind of change over time, because it is pretty dumb. It's kick-ass, but dumb-ass. And with Vernon Wells as Bennett, you know, he's interested in a whole lot of ass. Arnie's primarily. Anyway, folks, there you go. Look after your sense of smell. Oh, that's something I was going to say. It can be damaged. You've got a smash in the face, any kind of trauma, it's damaged. So they did a lot of assessments in people who were battlefield victims. They had injuries. How good was their sense of smell afterwards? Not that good. Because obviously, you know, if you've had your nose hit, it impacts your head. It's going to affect all the micro, neuro, I don't know what all the bits and bobs are. The smell goes up here and it gets assimilated by bits and bobs and then transferred to this big bulb thing, and then goes to your brain, and your brain understands it. And it understands it in a nanosecond. But if that gets disrupted, well, all of us, if Arnie had been smacked in the face, like, I don't know, the week before, that ice cream that she puts in his schnoz, and he goes, that could have knocked his olfactory system out altogether. All he could smell was like vanilla and pistachio, perhaps, I don't know. So, you know, continuity error there. He would have smelt nothing because of that impact from the ice cream corner. I don't know. There's almost 40 minutes talking about noses in Commando. I don't think anyone has ever discussed this facet of Commando before. I haven't sniffed them out, that's for certain. So anyway, folks, there's plenty to sniff on there. So please, in the meantime, and this ever sensory in between time, please keep it Celtic, and I am going to see you all. Namaste, you smell nasty. All that matters to me now is Chenny.